Today, I would like to talk to you about something that in these times, but actually every time it was important, but I feel right now it's even more important to talk about it. It's trust. Let's talk about trust. Trust in ourselves, trust in our inner wisdom, trust in our intuition. And I know it from my own story that this can be so frustrating. Like I've heard in books or in podcasts or in courses that I went to, I've always heard something like, you already have all the information. Everything is within you. You know the answers. And I was like, no, I don't. If I would know the answers, I would be in this course. So I was super frustrated. And let me tell you a tiny bit about why we can't trust before I tell you something about what we can change. And maybe I can do it in a way that doesn't frustrate you. I do hope. Why is it so difficult for us to trust? There are probably a gazillion reasons why, but let me tell you something about ones that most of us will have experienced ourselves. And the first one is the way we were brought up. For example, and a lot of people from my generation, older, maybe even a tiny bit younger, might know this example quite well. Food. So when you were a child, who decided what you were eating, how much you were eating, and when you were eating? I would guess it wasn't you. And that is just one example, but it's one of these that happen to you on a daily basis. For a lot of us, growing up meant other people decided what we want to eat. Other people decided when we were finished, and other people decided when we were hungry. And as much as I understand it from the parental view that it is way more easy to control it, like we all eat at this point in time, and I tell you what you eat and you have to finish what's on your plate. I understand it. As much it is a problem with trust, because our children or us when we were younger, we knew when we were hungry because our body tells us when we're hungry. And if that doesn't fit with the dinner time, then it could be a problem. So we had to basically tell ourselves, no, we are not hungry, or we have to wait for dinner. Second, our body also tells us we are finished, we've had enough. And when someone else then tells you, no, you are not, you have to finish what's on your plate, that means you go against your gut feeling. You go against the signals that your body gives you. And the same goes for eating something that you don't like. Because when you really don't like something, when you think something's disgusting, but you're forced to eat it, it makes something with you. And as an adult, you understand that because you probably have something that you don't like eating, or that you really think, oh, it's disgusting, I don't want to eat that. If I would force you to eat that, you exactly know what damage that would cause. It's just one thing. And I understand the parental view of it. We don't have to talk about that. And a lot of our parents came out of times where they had their own trauma, or food wasn't always available and it was a scarce thing to have. So people had to economize and people had to eat, especially when they did live during war times. It's like, well, you eat whatever you get because you're hungry. But when we grew up, that wasn't a problem, at least for most of us. That is just one thing, a daily issue that can disconnect ourselves from our inner signals. And there's heaps of other stuff, like, for example, our education system, because we put grades on a lot of things and we do say stuff to children like, yes, this is good or this is not good. A lot of these inner ideas, information, feelings that come will have to be changed from the child's view. Like when I, as a child, made a really beautiful picture, or I thought it was a beautiful picture, and I would show it to my parents and they would say like, nah, that's not good. What does that mean? You know, for me as a child, oh, okay, I can't draw or I can't do art and crafts. It's not my thing. So then I don't do it. I like my picture, but my parents don't like my picture, so I must have been wrong. So rather not trust the idea that I like something. I probably need to ask someone first and get validation. And that is something that you maybe are experiencing today. Do you always trust what you feel, what you think, or do you get validation for your ideas, your thoughts, your feeling? For me, I can say, yeah, that can happen. Or that happened way more often before I went so deep onto my path that now I am better connected with myself. And of course, sometimes it's not that I don't trust other people's opinions or that I don't want things to be validated. But it's a difference if I do trust in my own ideas and my gut feelings and my intuition, and then ask someone else, or if I am completely disconnected and ask someone else to validate basically everything that I do my whole life. So daily things that happen to us when we are children can lead to a disconnect to our inner feelings, to our intuition. Then, of course, during our lives, it could have been that we came to a point where we thought like, okay, now I trust my gut wisdom. I just decide ABC. And maybe we made the experience that it wasn't a good decision. Then we would be like, oh yeah, gut feelings didn't work for me. So nope, I don't use that any longer. The problem there is our gut feelings can be interpreted wrongly if we didn't listen to our gut feelings, but we listened to our inner voice. And that is a tiny bit frustrating. You have to learn how your gut feeling really feels to learn when is it the inner voice and when is it the gut feeling that is telling me something. But one tiny hint there, if your gut feeling sounds exactly like the voice that you usually hear in your head, then that is probably your inner voice and not your gut feeling. But of course, we can make experiences and we think, okay, we can't trust it any longer. Can happen. But probably the worst thing that has happened to our trust, why it's so difficult for us, is society. Because our society loves intelligence and the intellect and our prefrontal cortex, because everything that's happening there is great. And everything else is probably some spiritual BS. But that is the problem, because when you trust, you don't know. So our prefrontal cortex is the last one who plays a role in trusting. And that is one of the biggest reasons why a lot of us don't trust ourselves, don't trust our inner voice, don't trust our gut feeling, because we weren't trained to do. We were trained to listen to this one, not the body. But, and that's the good thing, we can retrain that if we want to reconnect to our inner wisdom. And yes, that is one thing that I have to say, it might take time. But the thing is, our inner wisdom is actually always on. Our intuition could always talk to us. But if you think about an analogy, like inner wisdom would be like a radio channel, and you have to tune into the right channel to listen to what it says. And the tuning in part, that is the tricky one. So you can tune and tune and tune and can't find your channel. That's the frustrating part. Or you can learn how to tune in and then hit your channel, and then you get into inner wisdom. So how do you learn it? Become quiet. That is probably the major player. I would say there are two. One is learn to become quiet. Second, learn to reconnect to your body, because a lot of the intuition, inner wisdom comes through our body. And if we are disconnected, it won't reach us. How do you do that? So most of us do have a problem with just quiet down, sit down, relax. And I'm not talking about enormous meditation or something like that. I mean, you can do that, great. But if you can't, and for a lot of us, that will be the problem, we can't, then do one tiny step at a time. So today, instead of grabbing your smartphone when you sit on the couch, or when you don't sit on the couch because you don't sit on the couch, you sit somewhere on your dinner table, somewhere else, you get your smartphone out and you want to do something, put the smartphone aside just for a minute. You can close your eyes and just breathe. And if your brain is still too active, then while just breathing, start concentrating on your body parts. Like do a body awareness thing where you go through your whole body. You start at your feet and then you go through your legs and further up until you finish at your head. And if you do that, you will feel that you do quiet down a tiny bit. And that is everything. That is the one thing you have to do. And you have to do it regularly. So if you do it once a day, great. If you do it every day, great. If you do it for 1 minute, try extend it a bit. Try it for 3 minutes. Try it for 5 minutes. If you end up doing it for an hour, great. I hope you put a timer on because you don't want to miss something important. But idea is do it regularly. Find these moments, these quiet moments, these peaceful. I know they might not feel peaceful in the beginning. It is a process, but they will feel more peaceful with time. And then you will get where you want to go. Because trust isn't something you just switch on. Trust is a muscle, and you do have to train that muscle. So that's the only thing you can do. Do it over and over and over again. And at some point, it's easy for you to access this state because that is where you want to go. I can get the break. I can be quiet. And the easier it gets for you, then you reconnect. Then your intuition talks to you. And second one, don't expect too much. And third one, and that was one of, if someone would have told me that beforehand, I would have known why it's so frustrating. Be patient. I am not a patient person. I'm the complete opposite. But that is what I need to learn. Be more patient. And that is what eventually brought me to my reconnection with my gut feeling, with my intuition, with my trust. And my journey is the example for everyone else. If you're frustrated with these things people tell you about, oh, you have all the information, I was too. If you're impatient, I am too. If you have high expectations, I had them too. Did my journey take a while? Yes, it did. But what I love about it is the expectations were completely, I would have never expected what eventually my intuition does feel like, does sound like, how my intuition talks to me, because it doesn't talk. My intuition doesn't have a voice. My intuition gives me feeling, picture, and it can have a voice, but it's the last thing. It's like my intuition uses a voice if I am still not tuned in and really need to get the channel. Then it's the voice. Otherwise, it's pictures that I see and it's feelings, and that leads the way. So yeah, that's the thing. I know it can be frustrating, but actually the answers are within you and you can learn to hear them again. You just have to do it. You have to go that way. You have to trust the process. And you might have seen similar stuff in your life beforehand, like, for example, workouts. If you started with a super light weight and now you have a real high weight that you can lift, yes, because you showed up, you did it. You did it so and so often, maybe daily, maybe not, but it did work eventually because you always did that teeny, tiny step. And one step at a time is just one step at a time. But if you do one step every day, you eventually reach your destination. So that's what I can tell you. And I know how frustrating it is, but what I missed actually back then, when I got the information that we have it all within us, no one told me that it just takes the exercise, become more aware, to find those quiet moments and to sink in. And then, of course, if you're there, experiment with it and do small, safe experiments. So try small decisions where you say, oh, I do that on gut feeling. And if it works out well, great. Then concentrate on that for at least 20 seconds. Like, wow, that went really well. That is so great. Because your brain takes a moment to process good things. Your brain is really fast in processing bad things, negative things, but it takes a moment to process the good stuff. So if something great happens, concentrate on that a bit longer. I think that's everything I want to say about trust. It's possible to reconnect, and I could do it. You can do it. Of course you can. And if you think, no, I can't, then get help, because there are so many people out there who could help you. Yes, including me. If you would want to work with me, great. If you don't, go to someone else, because that is what I'm here. I'm here to tell you change is possible, and you can do it. You can do it. If you can't do it by yourself, find someone that can help you, because actually we can do a lot of stuff by ourselves. But when we do it just alone, we will get to a point where we plateau, basically, because we have so many blind spots when it comes to our own story, when it comes to our own behaviors and patterns, that we often do need someone else to look at what's happening and give us a different opinion on our problems. That's it. So trust the process. The answers are within you. It might take you a while to find them, but they're there. Go ahead, and one tiny step at a time. Good luck.